What's up, Internet? Just doing another quick video for you today. I figured, it's Halloween's this coming week. I figured I'd do another video about horror movies. And not any specific movies in particular. This isn't really a top 10 list. What I want to talk about is effective scares in horror movies, kind of. And what's more effective at actually scaring you. So basically what I'm talking about is more of a psychological type of horror versus, oh my gosh, that dude's head just exploded, they're ripping everybody apart, there's blood, guts, and ass all over the place. And a lot of times, that's fun, really gory, can definitely be a good time when it comes to horror movies. However, I really feel like subtlety and letting your mind trick you into scaring you is much more effective. So just talk about a few different things in movies that, are effective scares versus, that was really gory, but, it wasn't really scary. So, for an example, I'm going to talk about, for just a second here, Resident Evil, the game series versus the movie series. Now, Resident Evil is my favorite game series. We're not going to get into the quality of the film series because I'll go crazy and rant and I'll be here all day. But what I'd like to just bring up is the movies. The first, 2-3 movies were okay. And they really were just kind of, focused on, action, boom, boom, shoot zombies in the head, oh my gosh, Mila Jovovich just jumped through a stained glass window on a motorcycle, and gore everywhere, and blah, 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 and that's it. I mean, the first movie kind of did a good job of building tension and, teasing you as to what was going to happen, but it just didn't stick, unfortunately. Those movies had such great potential, and they just... let's not go there. But, the games, the early games specifically, I'm not talking about, Resident Evil 6, the mild failure that it was, even though I felt like it was an improvement over the boulder punching retardedness that was Resident Evil 5. I'm talking about Resident Evil, not Metal Gear Solid. What's wrong with me? Anyways, I remember the first game. It's just the pacing of it. It's just so slow, and you're playing those games, especially the GameCube version of Resident Evil 1, which cannot wait for the remaster. But they just did such a good job of fucking with you with that game. It would just mess with your head constantly. I remember I was playing it one time, and I'm in, the woods behind the house, and I'm going into, Lisa Trevor's cabin. I was like, I do not want to go in there. I was just playing the game. I was just like, I do not want to be here. I do not want to go in here. I do not want to go in here. And then I went in, and it was terrifying. So, yeah, things like that. The entire time I'm playing the game that time, I'm just like, what is going to happen here? So, yeah, that is some effective scaring. Using the proper mood, just the camera angles in those games, just really set you off. You just constantly felt like something was wrong. You constantly felt like something terrible was going to happen to you, and oftentimes it did. So yeah, that's an effective scare. Ineffective scare is, Resident Evil the movie, just oh gosh, we're all getting bitten, we're all getting eaten alive, it's just really gory, and it's not really much of a tension build, there's not really much of a build-up. Now, I think that one movie, it's not really, you wouldn't really consider this a horror movie per se, but I feel like one of the most effective movies as far as scaring people, some of the most effective scare scenes ever filmed are going to be in the original Jurassic Park. And I know all the horror movie guys are like, Jurassic Park's not a horror movie, what are you talking about, blah, 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 blah. But, really think about it for a minute. I remember that first scene where all the guards they all got M16s and big old shotguns, and Gabe Warren's just sweating with the most intense look on his face, and they're just moving that thing, and it just created this tension, and you could just tell that as they were moving that cage with that big velociraptor in it towards the raptor pen, you could just tell that some shit was gonna go down, that something was gonna go wrong. And then it did, and it knocked the cage over and started eating that guy, and you couldn't see the raptor eating this guy. But you knew it was happening. Like, your mind was imagining how exactly it looked inside that cage, whereas the only thing you could hear was just shooting, people screaming, and Robert Muldoon, the game warden, trying to pull that guy out of the cage, just screaming, "Shoot!" It's just one of the most effective opening scenes to any film ever, in my opinion. That scene is just like incredible. I remember the first time I saw Jurassic Park when I was like 4 years old. I was at my aunt's house. I actually had to make them turn it off because it scared me too much. Because I mean, just Jurassic Park, it's pretty crazy seeing it for the first time, you know. And going back to what you don't see, like Samuel L. Jackson's character in the movie goes off to that bunker to like turn the power on or whatever, and that I don't remember what the actress's name is, but that girl goes off with the game warden so they can try and help him and, you know, get the power turned back in the island so they can kind of like stop the mayhem. And I just remember that she's with the game warden. You don't see the Velociraptors anywhere. You just see him looking around. He's got that big old Spaz 12 shotgun, and she's like, "I can see it. We'll make it when we run." He's just like, "No, we're being hunted." And he just goes off, just slowly like stalking one of the Velociraptors. Unfolds the stock in that shotgun, and you're just like, "What is gonna happen here? What is gonna happen here?" And he's aiming his shotgun. The next thing you know, the little Velociraptor head just pops out right next to him, and he's like, and you just hear him say, "Clever girl," and just tries to turn his gun to shoot it, and the next thing you know, it just cuts away, and you hear like one gunshot, and all you hear is him screaming, and the raptor's freaking out. And it's like, because of things like that in Resident Evil, my favorite horror movie trope, science fiction horror specifically, is really what surprises you. One of my favorite tropes in horror is you've got like this badass person or this badass group of like soldiers or whatever, and they just run into something they are not prepared to deal with, and they just get destroyed. And like, one of my favorite things to see when that trope gets used is like just far off shot, and you just see muzzle flashes, and all you hear is machine gun fire and screaming. It's fun. But yeah, now that is a scare. And then when she's in the bunker and she's just there, and she's just like calling around, "Mr. Arnold, where are you?" And that hand just goes on her shoulder, and she's like, "Oh, Mr. Arnold." She turns around, and the hand is severed. Like, you didn't see him die. You just saw his severed arm, and that's all you needed to see to freak you the hell out. Now that's an effective scare. As opposed to, let's take a movie like Planet Terror, which I love. I love Planet Terror. I mean, it was on my list of my favorite Halloween movies as part of Grindhouse, and it's very fun, great movie. But like, they don't really build tension in that movie. They just kind of shower you with exploitative gore, and it's great. You got it, it's great, but it doesn't really scare you. Now, Saw. Let's talk about Saw for a second. I haven't watched a Saw movie since I think Saw 4, maybe? Or maybe it was Saw 3. Anyways, the only ones I really remember are the first two movies. Saw, gory as it is, it simultaneously has those shocking, like really gory moments, but at the same time it does a very good job of just building tension and just building up towards this. And it has also those films have, as anyone who watches them, you know they have a great storyline, and as the movies go along, it just builds and builds and builds. I need to pick that series up again. I think they're releasing a Blu-ray box of it pretty soon. Gonna have to get that and rewatch all of them, and of course watch the ones I haven't seen yet for the first time. But that's, that movie's a very good balance. I mean, and then again, and it's like I said, it's all about, horror isn't really about what you see. It's about what you see and what you hear makes you imagine. The scariest thing in the universe, the scariest thing, is your own imagination. And that's really, like I said, where horror becomes its most effective. Like, I mean, let's take, for example, Jaws, a movie that terrifies me to this day. Because I saw it when I was 5 and it just traumatized. I couldn't go to the beach for years. Anyways, they don't show the shark in that movie until like the last half hour of the movie. But like, you just see people go into the ocean and they don't come back out, and that's just as scary as actually seeing the freaking shark. Because like you don't know what the hell is going on. You just know that this person went out swimming one night and came back in pieces. And it's really, now that's how you scare someone. It's not like, oh look, blood squirting everywhere, yeah, people's heads getting cut off, and you know, that's, like I said, that's fun. Don't get me wrong, excessive blood and gore, it's a good time when it comes to horror or even action movies. And especially video games, like who doesn't like ripping people apart and shit, like God of War or whatever, but when it comes to actually watching a horror movie that's scary, it really, a movie really shines when it can just mess with you without actually having to show you anything. Like perfect examples are Halloween, which I talked about in my last video, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, almost a bloodless movie, but it's just freaky as hell. Like I think someone told me, or I read somewhere once that like when they first showed that movie in theaters, like people were like fainting, a couple people had heart attacks because it was so freaky. But there's like no gore in the movie almost. It's just the way that people act and like what the movie causes your imagination to complete is the scariest thing. So that's an effective scare right there. And another one that I want to bring up just real quick is a film called Funny Games. It was originally like I think a German film. I believe it was a European movie. I don't remember what country the original one came out of, but the American remake, which I have seen, I haven't seen the European one yet. I should probably watch that soon. But the American one, it's a very weird movie, and I'm sure that the European one's even weirder. But you really don't, like, basically these two guys show up and they do this crazy home invasion on this family, and it's like half the time you don't see what they're actually doing to these people. It's like off to the side, like they've got this little kid and they put a pillowcase over his head, and camera turns towards his parents, and all you see is their reactions, and you hear him like yelling in pain, and it's just like, what is going on? And that movie's just extremely disturbing. Extremely disturbing and very strange. So like, if you're someone who's very into horror films and enjoys them, you should watch that movie definitely. But if you're just like, you know, it's Halloween, I want to watch a fun horror movie, and yeah, do not watch Funny Games. It'll freak you the heck out. But yeah, anyways, like I was saying, the point of this video is just really, the scary thing in horror movies is really the human mind and your own imagination. Gore is fun, but really when a movie is going to twist your mind and make you scared, that's really where it shines. But anyways, that's what I just want to talk about today. I'll have more videos coming up soon. Like, you know, the video, comment on it, subscribe, tell your friends, share it, and do whatever. Anyways, peace. What am I doing with the peace? I'm a friggin' metalhead. Yeah. See you later.